Hi, biologists. I'm so excited to finish the story with you. Sea Otter Inlet. And before I begin, let's think about what was happening in the story. It's been the whole weekend, so remind yourself what happened at the beginning. What happened in the middle? Our problem came up. And then what happened after the problem? So I remember at the beginning, the sea otters were happy. They lived in an inlet, and they loved to wrap themselves up in this kelp seaweed that would hold them in place while they slept. And who remembers, what did they like to eat? They loved to eat the spiny purple sea urchin, right? And then one sad day, the hunters came and got all the sea otters. And when the sea otters left, it affected everything that lived in that habitat. The sea otters couldn't eat the urchins, so then the urchins ate up all the kelp. Then the animals that lived in the kelp didn't have a place to live. It was a big mess because they were all related. They were connected together. One thing depended on another. And then, so this book got to be pretty sad. And then I remember one day we started to see sea otters coming back. The otters had survived in places which the hunters had not found, and no one was hunting them anymore. There were now enough otters that some could come back to live again in their old home. Well, that sounds better. What do you think will happen now when the otters come back? Think they'll be able to reverse the damage that was done by the hunters and their impact? The otters dived in the waters of the inlet. They found plenty of spiny purple sea urchins, their favorite food, and soon other otters came to join them. Gradually, that means slowly, very gradually, as the otters ate more and more spiny purple sea urchins, look, he's getting one there, the kelp began to grow back. And gradually, very gradually, the animals that had lived in the kelp forest began to come back too. Once again, there were clingfish and kelpfish and sea bass and many more fishes too numerous to mention. There were all kinds of shellfish. There were flower-like sea anemones and crabs and lobsters and shrimps. There were 8-legged octopi and many-legged sun stars and 5-legged sea stars and brittle stars. There were even some spiny purple sea urchins with no legs at all, but not too many. Why was there not too many? The otters were back to help control them, right? So why do you think that the author wrote this story? Was this just like a story for fun, or did the author want us to learn something? I think that the author probably wanted us to learn we have to be careful with Mother Nature. If we take away all of something in an area, it's going to have a big impact. And I also think the author probably wanted to remind us that so many things in nature, including humans and plants and animals, are all related. We're all connected. Remember these photographs or these pictures that we looked at? These are both pictures. And all of the ways that these plants and animals are related and even related to humans, right? We all depend on one another to stay alive, to survive. So I have a really fun project that you can do at home. If you have a paper plate, that's helpful, but you don't have to have one. If you do have a paper plate, it's kind of like a mini diorama is what it's called. So watch how I'm going to make just one cut to the middle of the plate. And then when I'm done with my other pieces, I'm going to fold this plate so that it looks like this. It's a 3D shape. It's like a little cone. And then it can stand up. So I have given you, I think, 4 choices today of different habitats that you want to create. You could pick 1, 2, or you could do all of them. There's a shark and some fish. There are cows and butterflies and grass. There's sea otters. All of these are attached in the Google Classroom so that you can make your own habitat. Remember, a home for an animal or a plant? So on the page, I wanted to do the ocean habitat. I colored the shark. I colored the kelp. I colored the fish. Those are all on the worksheet that are in the Google Classroom. If you don't have a printer, draw a shark, draw a fish, draw some seaweed, and you can cut it out and then glue it onto your plate. Before I glued them onto the plate, I colored my whole plate blue. But if you're not doing the ocean habitat, you'll color your plate to look like the habitat. Now you might be noticing that I added a few things here because I knew in an ocean habitat, there's more things that are related to the shark and the fish and the kelp. I just learned there's spiny purple sea urchin, and I drew like some rocks down at the bottom too. Those are all part of the habitat. So you can add on to the things that I included on the worksheets if you know more about that habitat and what helps other animals or plants survive in it, okay? So this is not a project you have to finish today. You can work on it over a few days, especially if you want to do more than one, and it's a great way to remind yourself when you look at this about how all of these living things, and actually non-living things too, are connected and related to each other in their habitat and on Earth. Everything on Earth is related in some way. Hope you have fun making it. Thank you.